This is the Brewers POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Milwaukee Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
They say all wins count the same, but ladies and gentlemen, this one tonight in Cincinnati certainly feels different for our Milwaukee Brewers. Once down 8-1, it looked like that win streak was coming to an end, but Christian Yelich and your Milwaukee Brewers offense had other ideas. A couple of home runs from Yelich, a relentless surge at the plate tonight for the Brewers, and they storm all the way back, stunning the Cincinnati Reds tonight by a final score of 10-8. Not 1, not 2, not 12, but 13 straight wins now for our Brew Crew, tying a franchise record. Hello, everyone, and welcome into the Locked On Brewers POSTCAST. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X, formerly Twitter, at Brandon_Snide, and follow all of my work over at WTMJ.com, as well as over on YouTube, where we are live right now. To make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that follow button, search Locked On Brewers, hit that thumbs up button for me, get all of our content over on YouTube, where we are live right now. And as always, free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon. Wherever you get audio podcasts, you can get this very program as well. And once again, free and available. Lots to get into. Miz struggling on the mound today. We'll talk about that. He got the start for the Brewers. Was going to be a short start for Miz, but it turned out to be even a little shorter. So we'll talk about that. And if you have any concerns, the offense, as we have mentioned, 17 hits tonight. We'll talk about that. 13 straight victories. And to make matters even a little bit sweeter, the Cubs losing earlier today in hilarious fashion. So the Brewers have now a 9-game lead in the National League Central. We'll talk about that as well. And of course, you guys know it. Your thoughts, your reactions, your opinions, your comments, whatever you got. But I better see some of your celebrations on the live chat as well today. 77-44 are our Milwaukee Brewers. So we'll dive into all of that. Tons of fun on the show today. We'll continue to talk about how special this Brewers team is and the special performances they got, most notably from our guy, Christian Yelich. We'll talk about that as well. Let's get into your scoring summary. 18 total runs scored in this game. So I'm not going to bore you with going by inning, but we will start in the second inning for the game. The Reds had a 1-0 lead going into the second inning. Christian Yelich getting the Brewers back on track right away in that top half of the second inning. That would make it a 1-1 game going into the bottom half of the second inning. And that's where things really unraveled for Jacob Misiorowski and DL Hall. Jacob Misiorowski, not a good start from him. 1 1/3 innings pitched tonight. 5 earned runs over 4 hits. That ERA almost touching 4 right now for Jacob Misiorowski. I'm not panicking anywhere right now with Jacob Misiorowski as a guy that looked like he's been off for the last 2 weeks. Just didn't have his control this evening at Great American Ballpark there in Cincinnati. The Reds would put up 7 runs in that second inning. 8 straight batters would reach base for Cincinnati in that second inning. And a lot of that contact, too, for Cincinnati just wasn't really solid. It was more frustrating than anything if you're rooting for the Brewers in that game. DL Hall also giving up a couple of runs after he came in that second inning. So after 2, the Reds were up 8-1. And if you're like me, you just I put it on X at Brandon_Snide, was like, we were kind of due for a clunker, right? Like everything had been going the Brewers' way. We were kind of due for a little bit of a clunker, and we certainly got it going into that third inning. And the Brewers really, to me, in that third inning, and I know the game isn't won in the third inning, and technically they didn't even come back to take the lead or tie the game in the third inning. But tonight, for me, the third inning is tonight's turning point, and it come from behind, the largest of the season, in a 10-8 Brewers win.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
Once again, the Brewers down big, 8-1 in that third inning. You're like, okay, like let's try to get through this. Let's see if we can kind of crawl our way back into this little by little. Well, the Brewers didn't waste any time after that second inning. That third inning, they put up 5 runs, including a Yelich double, a Vaughn 3-run home run, a Terrain double. And before you know it, the Brewers are right back in it. It's 8-6. And you knew watching this team over the last 2 months that that's exactly where they needed to be. Because if you could get within a few runs, this Brewers team, and that's exactly what we saw this evening, that's all that they needed. They needed a little bit of life, get back into this game, and before you know it, you get into the fourth inning, the next inning, once again, Christian Yelich scoring a few runs, and that would tie the game up at 8 apiece. Then Christian Yelich, once again in the sixth inning, a 378-foot shot to left field, and a no doubter with that short porch out there in Cincinnati. That would give the Brewers a 9-8 advantage going into the seventh, where Brandon Lockridge would come on. He would score on a wild pitch, and the Brewers would take a 10-8 lead. And without further ado, they're not going to get the player of the game, but they should get honorably mentioned tonight, and that is the Brewers bullpen this evening. After the Reds went up 8-1 in that second inning, going into the third and beyond, the Brewers bullpen, which consisted of D.L. Hall, Nick Mears, Aaron Ashby, Abner Uribe, Jared Koenig, and Trevor McGill, who, by the way, secured save number 29 on the season for McGill, sat down 23 Reds batters in a row. I mean, a remarkable performance. And again, it speaks to why this team is so dangerous come October, why they're so dangerous, why they're going to probably lock up the National League Central before we hit the NFL week one of the season, continuing to just bail out starting pitching when needed, bailing out bullpen when needed. The offense, like we saw tonight, bailing out the starting pitching, putting up 17 hits and scoring 10 runs en route to their 77th win of the season. Just a remarkable performance from all those guys out of the bullpen that I had just mentioned. It wasn't pretty for DL Hall. He inherited a mess from Misiorowski in that second inning, but for him to, climb out of that second inning, get to the third inning, and for DL Hall too, it was 2 2/3 innings pitched for DL. So we talked about DL Hall a couple of nights ago. The Brewers have won so much, I forgot which game exactly DL Hall was a part of which big game that was. But I remember him coming in and he pitched over 3 innings in middle relief and kind of got the Brewers into, an opportunity to win that game. That was exactly the case once again for DL Hall. 2 2/3 innings pitched. And without him, without the performance, getting to Nick Mears and getting to Ashby and allowing those guys to do what they do best and shut the opposing offense down. And of course, Abner Uribe, you guys know how much I love Abner Uribe, and Trevor McGill, as we mentioned, and Jared Koenig tonight was fantastic. 16 pitches thrown in that 8th inning for Jared Koenig. 12 of them were strikes. But for them to shut down 23 batters in a row, it speaks on just how dangerous this team is. How many times you and I have talked about they can beat you in every single way. How demoralizing are you right now if you're a Cincinnati Reds fan? How demoralizing are you feeling? They've been playing good baseball. The Cincinnati Reds have been playing good baseball. You are up 8-1 in your home ballpark. Jacob Misiorowski, the all-star, the quickest to an all-star appearance, in Major League Baseball history. You ran him out of the game after 4 outs. You're up 8-1 at home in front of your home crowd, and you allow a team, no offense to anybody for the Brewers, but you're playing the backups today. No Blake Perkins, no Isaac Collins. Obviously no Jackson Churio. It's a team that obviously is red hot, 13 in a row. They tied the franchise best record now for most games won in a row. They'll go to break that tomorrow. But it's a team that it doesn't matter who's in. It doesn't matter who's out. It doesn't matter who's injured. It doesn't matter who's on the opposing team, who's on the opposing mound. You saw what they did to Paul Skeens. And it's now the third time in Brewers franchise history they have scored double-digit runs in 3 consecutive games. It doesn't matter who's in. This team is simply remarkable. I can't even sum it up anymore. I don't even have the words to describe the play that I'm seeing from my favorite baseball team. I'm having the time of my life talking about Brewers baseball, and I know each and every one of you are as well. We'll get to your thoughts, and we'll get to the player of the game coming up after this. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy Transfusion. Their grape, ginger, and lime-flavored shot brings the iconic taste of the golf course to a fan favorite to a non-alcoholic boost. Perfect for sinking birdies or making great memories with friends. It's a hole-in-one for your energy game, whether you're out on the course or you just need a little extra push if you're like me, just to power through the day. The 5 Hour Energy Transfusion delivers the clubhouse flavor you love without ever leaving the green. And golf is all about good times with good people and good flavors. That's where 5-Hour Energy comes in. Their grape ginger lime flavor of 5-Hour Energy Transfusion gives you the best parts of your clubhouse go-to without leaving the course or chasing down the beverage cart. Now you can amp up for the fun. Just buy, snap, and enter for a chance to win a dream golf trip for two to any golf tournament in the United States. Tee up that trip. Visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. No purchase necessary. This does exclude the Masters tournament. So once again, visit 5hewin.com for rules and entry. 5hourenergy.com. Today's Locked On Brewers postcast also brought to you by our wonderful partners over at Monarch Money. Most people can't name all of their financial accounts. That's me right here, or really even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And whether you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. And that, right, my friends, is why Monarch Money comes in. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that gives you entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. They do all of the heavy lifting for you. You can link all of your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your own money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off of your first year at monarchmoney.com with code, once again, use that code, LOCKEDONMLB. The largest come from behind win of the season, tying a franchise best, their 13th win in a row, 77-44. The best road record as well continues to get better for our Milwaukee Brewers, 11 games over 500. Detroit behind them, only 4 games over 500 for Detroit. So the Brewers getting the wins on the road, and it's been simply fantastic. They got a little bit of taste of their own medicine in that second inning, but the Brewers were able to turn things around. A big third inning, as we have mentioned. Once they got within striking distance, you knew that was going to, get, if it got close enough, this Brewers offense was going to find a way, and certainly that is exactly what happened this evening at Great American Ballpark, the 10-8 win over the Cincinnati Reds. We mentioned how great of a game the bullpen did. Not a great game for Misiorowski. A lot of offense for this Brewers team. And without further ado, let's get into tonight's Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game in a 10-8 win.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
Mentioned the bullpen for tonight's win for the Brewers as being a key piece to this game. And certainly I don't think anybody would disagree that if it's not going to be the bullpen, you got to certainly look at what the offense was able to do at the plate. Once again, 17 hits, over 10 runs scored. 4 of those 17 hits coming from none other than the guy that continues to own the city of Cincinnati, and that is Christian Yelich tonight. A couple of home runs, 4 for 5 on the evening was Yelich, and 5 runs batted in. And to make it better for Yelich, he's using the Euchre bat for the Players Weekend. And I don't know, Euchre magic is certainly real amongst the city, amongst the state, certainly in that clubhouse tonight, and maybe in the bat of Yelich tonight. He continues to own the Cincinnati Reds, 4 for 5 this evening. He gets the Locked On Brewers postcast player of the game. Honorable mention. We had talked about it, that bullpen. Without that bullpen, at least holding it to where that game was at, again, the Reds didn't score after that second inning. They put up 7 in inning number 2, and 23 in a row were shut down as the Brewers go on for their franchise best record now, 13 straight wins. They'll look to break that tomorrow in Cincinnati. Your thoughts, your reactions, and of course, your celebrations are welcomed on the program. We begin with Glory Days Sports Consultating, every day to the program. How can you not talk about Vaughn in the MVP discussion? Last I heard, top 10. Yelich with the Euchre bat. It's a sign they just don't give up, won't stop. Andrew Vaughn has been such a revelation for this Brewers offense. And really, when the trade happened, I even got on this program and I said, I believe it's going to be a good move. I didn't think it was going to be this good. I'd be lying to you if I thought he was going to hit multiple home runs and be second in the National League in runs batted in. After tonight's results, he might be first since he's been called up to the Brewers on July 7th, but he has been absolutely fantastic. Everything and so much more that this team needed when they called him up. And really, you go back to that July 7th game against the Los Angeles Dodgers, and I know they won against Miami the night before. Andrew Vaughn helped set the tone to get that win streak in July, their other 11-game win streak in July. And then obviously what has happened now in the month of August, where the Brewers still haven't lost and continue to find ways to win. Every single game feels like a different type of win. They won in Atlanta having 3 hits. They win in Washington putting up 800 runs. They win tonight down 8-1. I mean, there's nothing that this team can't overcome throughout the course of any given game. And it's simply remarkable. And part of that is what Andrew Vaughn has done. And the injury to Rhys Hoskins. And again, shout out to Matt Arnold, man. Shout out to Matt Arnold. Doesn't get enough credit for the job he has done for this organization. Everydayer Harley, I'm absolutely speechless. From down 8-1 to winners at 10 of 8. I've seen enough. This is our year. Like Thanos, we are inevitable. It's certainly starting to feel like that. It's certainly starting to feel like the team down south in both, direction and standings in Chicago are starting to really be like, I think you cannot, if you're Craig Counsell, and I know this has nothing to do with the Cubs, and I know this has nothing to do with, what happened today. Obviously they took the loss, but you cannot tell me right now for a Cubs team that was in first place in the middle of June by 6.5 games over this Brewers team, that they are not feeling the effects of this Brewers win streak and turnaround in the second half part of the season. Really, you could go before the second half of the season started, but I mean, Craig Counsell's it's got to be bothering him that this team that he just left a couple of years ago has not only won the division the first year he was gone, and now look like they're in cruise control to win it once again, up 9 games tonight after the Cubs lost to the Pittsburgh Pirates, who the Brewers just got done sweeping. Everydayer Nick, no one had this run on their bingo card after that Yankee series in March. Just wow. I believe at one point they were -40 in the run differential. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what I saw, what I read. And again, bad start for this Brewers team at the beginning of the year. And it wasn't just the win and loss record. Like, it was just injuries. It was just not, at one point, Freddie was really all you had. And then you go out and make a trade for Quinn, and then Chicago comes in, and the first weekend, you return back after that road trip, and you get routed from Chicago at American Family Field, and things just didn't look like they were going to go your way this year. And then all of a sudden you kind of started seeing, okay, an 8-game win streak in May. Okay. Got through at that point. It was a tougher part of their schedule into June. And then you're like, okay, this team's playing better. Then you get to July and you're like, okay, you're still kind of hovering there, and you're fighting, and the Cubs are still up 4 games. And then you get to that series. And I said, put a bookmark in that series. And that was a series on the road against the Miami Marlins, who at the time were 9-1 coming into that series in their last 10 games against the Brewers. And I am dating us here a couple months, at least a month, maybe a little bit more. But the Brewers won 2 out of 3, and they weren't pretty, but they were wins that I look back, and I talked about it Sunday afternoon after that game. Brandon Woodruff returning to the mound for the Brewers after that shoulder surgery. And I said, that series felt like something clicked, something happened with this team. And certainly that proved to be the case. They rattle off 11 in a row. They're the hottest team in baseball. They sweep the Dodgers in 6 games. And then obviously their win streak comes to an end in Seattle. Then they start a new one. And it's really, since that series in Miami, this has been a completely different team. And that's the other thing. It's not luck anymore. I know our friends down in Chicago love to talk about the Brewers can't keep this up. The Brewers, there's no way this is going to keep going. There's no way these no-name guys are going to keep producing. Well, that's not the case. That's certainly what is happening with this Brewers team. As we had mentioned, again, no offense to anybody on the Brewers roster tonight, but they were backups to the backups this evening in Cincinnati, and the Brewers found another way to get the job done. Cubs fan, Brewers beat up bad teams. Now let's go to lose the team that the Brewers just swept. Yeah, that's the other thing with the Cubs, is if you're going to call the Brewers lucky, or if you're going to call them, whatever you want to call them, at least make sure you're winning the games that you should be winning and not overrunning second base, PCA. Kevin over on YouTube, Pocket Pancake Power. The Brewers have not lost a game since Pat Murphy on Apple TV, which the game was broadcasted tonight television-wise as well on Apple TV. So it has been quite a journey for this team. Have not lost a game since Pat Murphy has whipped out the Pocket Pancakes. Everydayer, not a whale over on YouTube. Not going to lie, I turned the game off in the second inning, had a beer, and checked my phone 10 minutes later. Was locked on Brewers again quickly. A fantastic comment there, not a whale. Appreciate you as always. And I think a lot of us did. Like for me, because I get paid to cover the team, I'm watching it. I'm locked in, no pun intended, but I'm locked in to the game. I see the Reds go up 7-1. I put it on Twitter. I'm like, those things, it's going to happen, right? You're going to have those games where, the exit velocity is not going to be great for the opposing team, but they're going to find holes within that Brewers defense. That's what it felt like in that second inning. And that's okay. Those things are going to happen. And then that's kind of the mindset I took into that game, into that second inning. But then the Brewers, again, how many times, you guys, have we talked about this team? You get punched and they get right back up. The Reds put up 7 runs in the second inning. The Brewers respond with 5 in the third. And it's right before you know it, it's a new ball game. And then in the fourth, they tie the game. And then in the sixth, they take the lead. And in the seventh, they add to their lead. I get so excited. I get so amped up talking about it because there's nothing that this team cannot do. 8-1 on the road against a team that's been playing good baseball, that's fighting for the wild card right now. And who knows, could maybe eventually catch the Chicago Cubs in the division standings. Certainly still ways to go. I'm not worried about anything in the National League Central, but it's still a good Reds team that's been playing better baseball. They're up 8-1. And the Brewers find a way to crawl back, even when guys like Jackson Chourio aren't playing. Blake Perkins isn't playing. Isaac Collins isn't playing. And those aren't just nobodies. Like Blake Perkins has been fantastic. A huge part of why the Brewers are in the win streak that they're in. Isaac Collins was the rookie of the month for the month of July and has been putting up MVP type numbers. And I know that's crazy to say out loud, but I'm just saying not having those guys in and being able to bounce back, being down 8-1 on the road speaks volumes to what this team can do. Todd, over on YouTube, I have been a Brewers fan for 55 of my 60 years, and I have never seen anything like this. This game, this streak, this team. Greetings, Brewer Nation from Chilean Patagon. I hope I say this right. Patagonia. I don't know if I probably mispronounced that. 2008 was fun. 2011 was certainly fun. 2018, to me, is still the most fun because it kind of happened late and it kind of happened out of nowhere, and they just got so hot, and it was just a kind of an unexpected thing. But this feels like it's surpassed that. I mean, it certainly has. I mean, I don't think any of us are going to argue anymore that this has certainly surpassed it. It's been absolutely remarkable. And the best part about it is they're doing it in the Brewers way, right? They're beating you at everything that's vital to the game of baseball. They're beating you at base running. They're beating you at timely pitching. They're beating you at defense, the little things. They're hitting the cutoff guy. They're gunning guys down on base. They're scoring on runs that maybe other teams wouldn't score on. It's the little things that this team does. And it's, again, not doing it with household names. That's not a knock on anybody. That's just the reality for this team. Woodworking outdoorsman every day, or this team can throw any lineup out there and win. Brewers sure did the Cubs a favor. Yeah, the Cubs obviously in a battle within the wild card standings with the Reds, with the Mets also a part of that. I don't know what the final was for New York, but it certainly is, it's kind of a lose-win type of weekend for the Cubs, right? They still have aspirations of being in the National League Central. Ian Happ, Pete Crow Armstrong talking about it after their loss this afternoon to Pittsburgh, that the division is still within grasp. I don't really know if that's the case. I really don't know. I mean, I do think that this Brewers team is that series in Chicago, 5 games in 4 days, the Brewers could have the National League Central locked up next week. Just saying. Every day, or Charles over on YouTube, down Perkins, down Collins, terrible start pitching, down 8-1, and the Brewers said, hold on, we got this. I cannot believe I am witnessing this. I couldn't say it any better, Charles. The Miz start was, I wouldn't say expected, but we also got to keep in mind, like, he's still a rookie, only has a handful of starts in his pocket, right? He coming back from injury, hasn't pitched in a couple of weeks, so you knew the rust was going to be there for Miz. I'm not worried whatsoever for, with Jacob Misiorowski. 1 1/3 inning, still had 3 strikeouts. Again, the control for Jacob Misiorowski, but there was a little rust to shake off there, so not necessarily worried whatsoever. But you're right, down 8-1 on the road against a good team. Again, and guys that have been playing really good baseball for you, Perkins and Collins, as you have mentioned, also not playing, and they still find a way. Matt over on YouTube, the Brewers have been good for the better part of 3 months now, but having the offensive power to still beat you when you light up their pitching, that's kind of new and exciting. It's the best offense in baseball. It's the best offense. I've scored the most runs in baseball now going on 3 months. It's not luck. It's not lack of schedule. I mean, they have beat the Phillies. They have beat the Dodgers. They have beat the Mets. I know the Mets are chasing, the wild card spot. Haven't been playing good baseball. They swept the Mets. They beat the Cubs. Like those are all playoff teams as of right now. The Reds you could throw in that conversation as well. I know they're on the fringe of it right now, and if the season ended right now, they wouldn't be in it. But they're still beating good teams. A couple more of your comments before we get things wrapped up on the Locked On Brewers postcast. A 10-8 win over the Cincinnati Reds. Chef Jake over on YouTube loved Yelich's comments after the game. We haven't done anything yet, one day at a time. And I absolutely agree with you, Chef Jake, and thank you so much for tuning into the Locked On Brewers postcast, because I could not agree more. I love that comment. You know why I love that comment? Number one, it's true. There's two reasons I love it. Number one, it's true. But number two, it's the same message verbatim. And I get goosebumps talking about it because it's just remarkable. It's the same message manager Pat Murphy has said time in and time out about this team. We haven't done anything yet. When the Brewers were on an 11-game win streak, this is going back now to July 21st. Somebody had asked him, you just won your 11th game. How do you feel? He said, I feel like it's July 21st and it doesn't mean anything. That's when you know a manager has a good feel for his team, when he's pulling the right strings and pushing the right buttons in that clubhouse, and when they're actually listening to his message being spoken. That's exactly when you know good things are happening within that clubhouse, is when the players are echoing the same words that their manager is speaking. Greg over on YouTube, the only critique I guess I could give is that the Brewers are still stranding way too many on base during some innings. 4 for 15 tonight with runners in scoring position. But again, 10 runs. I know a couple of them came on a couple of home runs, 3 of them to be exact. But again, finding different ways to win. And that's that. I mean, you're going to have games where, bases are loaded, maybe 2 outs, but it's good. The numbers are going to look a little bit more inflated than they probably really were. I think, for the most part, I'll take 17 hits and 10 runs on the road against what could be a very, very realistic playoff team going forward. Luke over on YouTube, what a team, what a year. Just so grateful for the ride so far and cannot wait for October. I love that comment. We're going to end with that comment because that's the message I have for you guys going forward. It is so easy. If you're like me, you're watching the scoreboard. Okay, what'd the Cubs do? What's going on in Philly? What's going on in Toronto? Or, the Brewers with that best record. Like, I just want everybody to take a second. I'm going to give you 30 seconds here. And I just want you, if you're listening to the show, if you're on the live stream, if you're listening in audio format, if you're watching the video back, number one, thank you. But number two, take 30 seconds, pause the show after this, and just appreciate what is happening right now. It is hard. I have goosebumps literally everywhere right now when I talk about this and when I think about this. This is the best team that we have ever seen in Milwaukee at this point in the season. It's the best team. It may be the best team we ever see. And who knows what happens in October or late September or, whenever the playoffs come, it doesn't matter. Enjoy it right now. Take a moment to sit down with your kids, if you're like me, and bring my 9-year-old and my 16-year-old and have them just be like, this team is special. I don't know. We don't know if they're going to win a World Series, but what they're doing is historic. What they're doing is special. And they're doing it in the best way possible, in the best Brewer way possible. And that's what makes it so much better. It's just remarkable. Just take a few minutes to just appreciate it, live in the moment, soak it up, rub it into your Cubs friends and family. I know I certainly will. And just enjoy it. And let's see if they can get 14 in a row tomorrow in Cincinnati. Just a quick show note. No postcast tomorrow. I have a family event on Saturday evening, so my apologies to you, but I will be right back on Sunday. So we'll tee it up on Sunday. So I hope the Brewers can get 14 in a row, and hopefully we're talking about 15 on Sunday as well. My thanks to each and every one of you. Again, you guys have turned this into the best Brewers post-game show out there. I cannot thank each and every one of you for what you are able to do, listening to the show, bringing your thoughts, bringing your reactions, bringing your celebrations. I thank you. I also thank the Brewers for keep on winning and making business grow in the Brewer podcast world. But once again, we are free and available wherever you guys get audio podcasts, Apple, Google, Spotify, Amazon, wherever you get audio podcasts. You can download the Locked On Brewers as well. We are free and available also over on YouTube as well. Just go to that search bar, type in Locked On Brewers. You can get myself and my guy Chuck Freeman We are free wherever you guys get audio, and we are free over on YouTube. My name is Brandon Snide. You can follow me on X at Brandon_Snide and follow all my work over at WTMJ.com as well. We'll talk again on Sunday afternoon. And as always, we have now been able to say this 13 times in a row. But as always, win, lose, or draw, it is always simply go Brewers. Have a good one, everyone. Thank you.